Hello everybody, in this lesson we're going to be talking about how to describe everyday objects. Why is it important to describe objects? Well, because we are surrounded by them, right? We have doors, we have tables, we have chairs, we have books, and we need to learn how to talk about them in order to distinguish one from the other, correct? So we're going to be talking about shapes, we're going to be talking about materials, and what they are for. Entonces, en esta lección de hoy vamos a aprender cómo hablar de diferentes objetos que están alrededor de nosotros. Bueno, ¿y por qué es importante hablar de estos objetos? Sobre todo para nuestro proceso de aprendizaje del idioma, porque como les iba diciendo, estamos rodeados por estos objetos y esto nos va a ayudar a ganar muchísimo vocabulario. Entonces es algo muy importante de aprender y yo creo que es momento de que empecemos con esta lección, ¿ok? Entonces ya vamos a empezar con el video. Okay, let's begin. So we're going to talk about different vocabulary that we can use in order to describe these objects, correct? So we can talk about, for example, materials, right? So we can talk about cotton, we can talk about gold, we can talk about brick, rubber, leather. For example, this bottle is made of plastic. Esta botella está hecha de plástico y es transparente. You can say it is translucent. So an example could be, she is wearing a gold ring. Ella lleva puesto, wearing, un anillo de oro. También podemos hablar de colores. We can talk about colors, and you must be quite familiar with colors, right? So we can talk about black, pink, red, yellow. Like I said, boy, it doesn't have really a color. It looks white, the lid of this bottle, but you can say translucent, but they come in different colors, black or gray or, you know, many of them. An example could be, he's got a black suit, right? We can talk about shapes, right? So we can say that something is triangular, circular, square, round, rectangular. For example, you can say, there is a round table in my office. Hay una mesa redonda en mi oficina. Estas son los shapes, que se dice formas. We can also talk about the shape of a body, but that would be something different. Sería algo diferente hablar de la forma de, por ejemplo, el cuerpo de alguien. También se puede describir, pero eso ya sería más como la apariencia física de una persona. Y estamos hablando de objetos, ¿correcto? We can talk about in terms of size. We can say how big or small something is. We can say medium-sized or large, huge, o tiny. Tiny es una palabra para describir algo que es muy pequeño. You know, sometimes o a veces escucho personas diciendo very small, right? And that's perfect if you're learning. But if you want to use new and different vocabulary, you can start using the word tiny to describe something that's very small. Okay? I'm gonna give you an example about size. You can say that is a tiny coin. Esa es una moneda muy pequeña, you see? So something that is very little. Opinions. Opinions, we can say that's nice, is excellent, is ugly, is a bit strange, perhaps. Algo extraño, una forma que te parece algo extraño. You cannot describe it, you can't find words to talk about it. You can say it is a bit bizarre, a bit strange, correct? For example, my burger is very tasty. Mi hamburguesa es, bueno, tiene un muy buen sabor. Tasty significa que tiene buen sabor, es un sabor fuerte y bueno, ¿correcto? We can talk about age of things. We can say if something is old or new. We can talk about in terms of, well, we can say different words actually. We can say old-fashioned. It's a quite common one as to imply that it is old, right? We don't use it anymore. We can say out of fashion, también es otra palabra que se usa para eso. Dated as well. An example of this could be, you should sell that old looking car. Sorry, I have all this written down and prepared for you, of course. What else? Well, there is something to be mindful of, and I'm going to explain this probably in Spanish. It would be probably easier to understand. Los adjetivos, cuando tú describes algo en inglés, tienen generalmente un orden, y este orden muchas veces tiene que ser respetado para que sobre todo una persona nativa logre entender de qué estás hablando, ¿correcto? Este orden va algo así. Opinion, then comes size, huge, tiny, like we said before. Age, then shape, then you can talk about color, origin, material, and the purpose. The purpose es el propósito. ¿Para qué sirve? ¿Correcto? Entonces, there are certain questions that you should keep in mind and that you need to answer if you want to properly describe an object, right? In order to describe the different characteristics that differentiate them from the rest, right? Certain questions that are going to help you to describe objects properly, correct? Entonces les voy a dar unas preguntas que a ustedes les pueden servir como una guía, podríamos decir, para describir los objetos de la mejor manera posible, ¿correcto? Estas preguntas serían, how big is it? Entonces tú le preguntas a alguien, hey, how big is it? They're talking about lo que sea, están hablando de una mesa. The person is going to answer, it is big, it is a small table, correct? What color is it? ¿Qué color es? ¿Qué color tiene, right? You can say, it is yellow. What shape is it? So you can say, okay, let me think about it. I think I remember it is square or it is round. We can talk about size, and if you say how big is it, you can say what size is it. It would be sort of similar or the same. We can talk about what is it made of. You can say what are its components or parts, and I'm gonna teach you some other ways of describing that, to talk about the specific parts of an object. Okay, for example, this is a notebook, right? And the cover is made of cardboard. And it is flat. Well, obviously I'm describing parts, but I'm just giving you something else. It's got obviously paper and the spiral binding, correct? And we can also say what it's used for. So what is it used for? ¿Para qué se usa? ¿Para qué sirve? So you use a notebook for, you write things, you draw things. Entonces, para escribir, para dibujar, correcto? So we're talking about function, right? What it is used for. We can talk about the smell of something and the taste of something, of course. That we put objects in our mouths. Babies do, perhaps, but we don't. So podemos hablar de smell, a lo que huele un objeto, o podemos hablar a lo que sabe también un objeto. What does it sound, or what sounds does it make? Better, actually, in case I guess it is an instrument or something like that, you can say that. How much does it weigh? So you can say, no, this notebook is pretty light, right? It's not heavy, right? It's not very heavy. I don't need a lot of strength to lift it up. You can perhaps talk about where you can find this object, right? You can find it perhaps in a room of your house or a place in a shopping center or something like that, So you can talk about that as well. That's it to describe that. So now we are gonna start with the last part of this session, and we're gonna get into it. We're actually gonna describe an object, which I'm going to present to you in a moment, okay? Entonces ya hablamos de todo este tipo de cosas que pueden servirnos para describir los objetos de una manera, digamos, coherente y que le haga entender a las personas de qué estamos hablando. Y ahora vamos a ir a lo que vinimos. Vamos a hablar realmente de describir un objeto. Voy a describir un objeto completamente para ustedes, para que ustedes tengan la oportunidad de pronto de practicar en sus casas también. Y es un objeto que ustedes todos, estoy seguro, tienen en sus casas para que puedan empezar a practicar con eso, ¿ok? Acuérdense algo muy importante, y es de pensar en adjetivos, ¿correcto? Eso es lo que describe realmente un nombre, es decir, en este caso, objetos, ¿ok? Entonces, vamos a ver eso. Okay, as I promised, I'm going to describe an object. I'm going to answer each and every one of the questions that I talked about before. in order to describe it. What do you think it is? Voy a describir el objeto ahora. Voy a responder cada una de las preguntas que les conté o les describí o les hablé, de las que les hablé durante el video, para poder hablarles completamente de este objeto. ¿Qué creen que es? Bueno, es un reloj. It's a watch, right? So I'm going to start answering the questions, right? So if somebody asks me, how big is it or what size is it? I'm going to say, well, it is something that is rather small, right? It is not big, correct? You can say it is small. Sometimes you would find bigger watches and you can say, well, it is sort of big, kind of big or biggish, which is like saying, es una manera de decir como, es como grande, right? This ish al final de ciertas palabras. En fin, entonces esa es la primera. What color is it? Well, it is silver, right? You can see silver, you can see black, and you can say some brown. ¿Qué más podemos decir? The shape. Well, you can say this particular watch is circular, or you can say it is round. We can talk about, what is it made of? So I'm going to talk about the components, the parts, right? It's got a vessel. This is called a vessel or a case, right? Entonces, este vessel o case es donde están todos los componentes adentro. We have the crystal that allows us to see through, right? In order to see the time, correct? And we have the crown, which moves the hands in order, obviously, to be able to tell the time. So that's it there. We have also the strap. The strap in this particular case is made of leather. What's the strap for? You may be asking yourselves. Well, the strap goes around your wrist, and this metallic thing here, it's the buckle. ¿Para qué sirve este buckle? Well, it holds the watch in place. Sostiene, mantiene el reloj donde nosotros lo pongamos dependiendo del tamaño de nuestra muñeca. We have the hour markers, which are obviously the dots that you see with the numbers, puntos que ven o las líneas que ven con los números. También tenemos the dial, que son básicamente todas las rayas. We have the hands, right? We have the hour hand, we have the minute hand. In some watches, they have the second hand, right? Tenemos las manecillas, la de hora, la de minuto, y la de segundo. And there is a little window here which tells us the date, right? Date window, right? And that's pretty much it. Obviously, this is analog watch, they call it. You also will find nowadays digital watches and smart watches which have different features and characteristics, right? We're talking about this one. Entonces, digamos que eso es la descripción del reloj y esto es todo lo que quería decirles en este video al respecto de cómo describir un objeto. Espero que les ayude mucho. Déjennos comentarios de pronto de qué les gustaría describir o si han podido describir algo en sus casas. Déjenos esos comentarios. Compartan este video si les interesa y si creen que a alguien más les interesa. Thank you very much for your time. And I'll see you next time, okay? My password, English downloading.